Okay, well, hello and welcome back. I have Gina Strole with me today. She is a fellow healer and coach and podcaster, and we met through a mutual friend and totally clicked. And also, we have similar audiences, and I just really love talking with her. So I thought I would bring Gina on to share her with the rest of you. So, welcome, Gina.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. We do have a lot in common, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. So, anything else you want to share about yourself by way of introduction?
I'm an intuitive healer, psychic medium, and spiritual coach, and I kind of cover it all. So I love helping women live their best life. That's what I get to do every day. So it's pretty
I
cool.
love it. I love it. So today we're going to kind of be exploring the idea of mindset and manifesting and kind of the power of thoughts. So manifesting is kind of a really popular topic today. So can you tell us a bit about what it means for you to manifest? Like what does it mean to manifest something?
Oh my gosh, my whole life has changed. I don't know, the last little bit, it's like manifesting's taken on a whole new meaning for me.
Yeah.
So to me, it's realizing that you really can have anything that you really desire. And it's cleaning up myself so that I can stay in that place of really understanding that I can have anything I want and believing in it and just going for it and dropping the fear. Oh my gosh, that's probably been the biggest thing lately is just dropping the fear and just going for it. So we do
Yeah.
get to have whatever we want, I think. I
Yeah.
believe.
So tell me more about dropping the fear. Like, do you think that that's one of the things that's holding people back the most is just a fear of what might happen if they get it? Or what do you mean by dropping the fear?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even if they don't get it, what
Mm.
happens? Like we get in our own way, and I did this for a long time. I'd like set these big goals and then it would get to the point where I was like getting close to where my goal, it didn't look like it was going to happen.
Mm.
And I would freak out and withdraw back in and oh my gosh, it's not working. And I realized one day I was like, what are you so afraid of?
Hmm.
Because what if it does work out?
Yeah.
It's like, where is the fear in all of this? Okay, so you wanted on the 12th and it came on the 13th. This is a problem.
Yeah.
How? And so it was really discovering that, oh my gosh, there is no reason to have the fear in all of it.
Yeah.
It's just allowing it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I think fear is a
Mhm.
thought that something might happen or that something won't happen, but it starts with our thoughts. So, what is the role that our personal beliefs play in manifesting our desires?
Oh my gosh, the one thing that I realized this last, well, probably 6 months is what we believe is what's going to happen for you.
Mm.
And so cleaning up the garbage, taking out the trash is what you need to do if you really want to manifest your life. Because say you want, I don't know, we'll use a big old number, $100,000 in the
Uh-huh.
next 6 weeks, but
Uh-huh.
yet you don't believe that you deserve to have that. It's not going to happen. And you're going to sabotage yourself all the way till it's done. So to me, it's such a big part to clean up our thoughts, clean up our beliefs, clean up even our actions down to our actions so that we are in that space of knowing that we can have and it's coming to us and it's happening. It's already happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you use the example of money because I think we have so many money beliefs, right? And so many limiting money beliefs. And so we have this idea of, well, it would be great to make 100,000, like you said, but that's not very realistic. So I'm going to cut it down to
Right.
5,000. And it's like, but what if you went for the 100,000 and then maybe you made 50,000? Then it
Right.
changes how you show up depending on your belief. You're
Yeah.
essentially choosing to fail ahead of time by having those limiting beliefs and allowing those fears to dictate your life rather than just opening yourself up to possibility.
Absolutely. I think one of the big beliefs too, especially with money, is that if we ask for more, we're selfish, that that's taking away from someone. And it's like, no, there's plenty out there for all of us.
Yeah.
It's like it circulates around us all day long.
Yeah.
And it's not about taking too much or taking more than your share. There isn't anything about taking your share.
Mm-hmm.
It's going for it and desiring it and knowing that you can have it and get it.
Yeah. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about those limiting beliefs. What are some of the common limiting beliefs that you see? You just mentioned one about it's selfish to want more.
It's selfish to want more. It's selfish to get more than what you need. That's
Mhm.
another one. Like we can only have what our needs are. And that's such a low vibe and limiting belief.
Hmm.
that there's not enough money to go around. We shouldn't ask for it. That's another one. We shouldn't even be asking. We just get what we get and don't throw a fit. Like how many of us, I even used to say that. Now I'm like, ooh, 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 don't say that. Because it's not about getting what you get. It's what the hell do you want? That's what we're going after.
I love that so much. Yeah, let's kind of just break a few of these down because it's so interesting that if we are able to increase our own wealth and abundance, and if we're the good and noble and humble people that want to do good in the world, it's interesting because it's usually people that are going to be the most generous with their money that have the thoughts that I shouldn't have as much. It's bad
Mhm.
to want more. It's like, but who better to have those dollars than these high vibe
Absolutely.
people that are so generous and want to bring other people along for the ride? And well, guess what? Now you get to hire somebody and bless their life because you're doing such an amazing job and bringing in so much flow. So it's really interesting how much it really does negatively impact even those around us by having those
Yeah.
limiting beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I've even realized, even for myself and people that I work with, I've had so many limiting beliefs in my way. I didn't even realize that they were even a lot of them were even there until you start breaking them down. And it's like, wait a minute, that just simply isn't true.
Yeah.
We don't have to earn our way to be here. You don't have to go and prove your worth on money and maybe get enough to get you through the month. Like that isn't how this works. But
Hmm.
that's how we learned and we've taken it upon ourselves. And then however you were raised and whatever that environment was like for you. And
Hmm.
most of us, I was raised in a very fearful, it was always scary. Money was scary. Like,
Yeah.
and I realized it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. There's nothing scary about money. Money is just there. It just
Yeah.
is. Like,
Yeah. And it's so interesting because so many of these limiting beliefs, we just accept them as truth. We never
right.
challenge them until we're listening to conversations like this or meeting with our coaches and someone points out, but that's just a thought, right? It's just a thought.
Yeah.
You can choose to believe something different, but we don't even question it because
Yeah.
it sounds so true. Like, oh, well, I'm not worthy. Who am I to do this great thing? Well, who am I to have this thing? But who are you not to be, right?
Right. And I'll go back to you talking about good people having money because I believe in that so much
Yeah.
too. It's like those of us that are out there humble doing all the good things, we are the ones who are making the changes and doing good things in the world and giving money to other people who need help and organizations. But you've got to have money coming in for that to all happen. So it's like, why not? Why not you? Why not? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like the world has this test that you have to take first to see if you're going to
mhm,
be good with money or not, right? Everybody gets to go out and
no,
have equal opportunities. So, yeah, let's just go and see what I can do. Let's go and see what's possible. And so, why not take
absolutely.
advantage and just step into that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what are some common misconceptions about the concept of manifesting?
Let's see. Common misconceptions. I would say, well, the one thing that popped into my head as soon as you said that is like setting back and not doing nothing and just thinking that it's going to fall in your lap.
Yeah.
Or you're out there overstepping your bounds, making it happen because, we're like, gotta just do all the things. There's a fine line in there of you have to be in this receiver place and be
Hmm.
able to allow it to come in. So if you're overdoing it, you're pushing it away. And if you're sitting there going, why isn't this working out for me? I teach a manifestation course and I talk a lot about if you tell the universe or you're trying to manifest winning the lottery and you don't even go buy a lottery ticket, like, there's action involved, but you've
Yeah.
also got to know where we're overdoing it. There's got to be that receivership in there too, as well. So there's kind of like a dance in there that I think you play. I think it needs to become a game. That's how I look at it. Like it kind of needs to become a game on where does my inspiration come in? What do I need to do? What's my active part of it? And
Hmm.
when do I need to step back and receive? Like we just kind of play this game with all this manifestation stuff.
I love how you talked about not overdoing it or not underdoing it. And it's interesting to think about just looking at my own life like, okay, so when have I attempted to manifest, but I was underdoing my action? For example, right now we're looking to buy a house It's like, okay, I really want to find a house, but if I just assume somebody's going to come and knock on my door and say, oh, we have found this perfect house just for you, the odds of my finding that perfect home go significantly down. And so I think you're spot on that sometimes we don't align our lives to be, yeah, in alignment with what it is that we're wanting to create. I think we have to get to that same vibrational energy of whatever it is that we want to make.
Yeah. Well, and I even look at, is it possible for someone to come and knock on the door and say, hey, MaryAnn, you know what? I just feel like this is, yeah, like I do
Yeah,
believe in that, but I
yeah,
also believe in this inspired action part. But I
yeah.
believe that inspired action part comes after we've done our healing work, after we remove these beliefs and these things on all the reasons. To me, I have this conversation with myself and list out all the reasons why I think I can't have it. It's like, okay, so we'll use the $100,000, put that
Mhm,
number out there, and suddenly your gut's like turned upside down. And oh my gosh, we can't do that. And so it's like, okay, well, let's list out all the reasons why you think you can't have it.
mhm,
And then let's see, are those ultimately true? Is that really ultimately true for you? And
mhm,
then after you do that work, then to me, it's like, okay, so what's my next step? What's my inspired action? Sometimes that's where I listen to my intuition. Sometimes it is, you know what, go wait for that doorbell to ring or whatever it is. Sometimes it's like in my business, go write that email,
yeah,
go call this person and do this podcast, go, you know what, this would be a really cool course, go record this, go do
mhm,
that. To me, there's always those little action steps that we can do.
mhm. And I
So
love that you call it inspired action because
yeah,
inspired action feels so different, right? And I think that
it
that's
is.
maybe what you were referring to when you were talking about people that are overdoing it and they're so rigid in
Yeah.
how it's supposed to come to pass that they miss it, right? It's
Yeah.
not inspired, it's not
Yeah.
fun, it's not I can't believe that this is happening,
Yeah.
right? And to have that excitement and that
Mhm.
joy over, ooh, I can't wait to see how this is going to happen. And jumping on that energy when you experience that inspiration to, you know what, I'm feeling super inspired about sending that email right now. It's going to feel so much
Absolutely.
different in that email versus if you're like, okay, well, I made it in my plan that I have to send out 5 more emails. And boy, this is so
Yeah.
hard for me. It's such a different energy.
Yeah, you might as well go sit on the couch for a while and do nothing because it's going to be better better received that way. Yeah, you don't want to do things in that energy. I always think I have a Down syndrome brother and he's hilarious and he always gets so excited and he says goody goody goody, and I was watching you just now and I was like, that's what popped into my head because I was watching him the other day go goody 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 over his Easter basket. He's
Yeah.
57 years old and he's still excited because the Easter bunny came. And I was like, if we could be that excited about the things we are manifesting and what's coming to us, we would all be billionaires. Like, seriously, just that little bit of goody, goody, goody in our life. Like,
Yeah, which leads me to my next question, which is, in your opinion, how much does that excitement or how does gratitude tie into the process of manifestation?
I think it's double. That's a twofold question
It
to
is.
me because you cannot fake gratitude. It just doesn't work. And you can beg yourself and pretend that you want, but you're not in the right vibration to do it. So to me, this is where you got to go clean up your garbage. Like
Yeah.
you've got to clean up all those beliefs and those things that are holding you back. And then you can step into that place of gratitude so
Mhm.
much more easy. Because if you're just telling yourself mantras all day long and pretending that it's working,
Mhm.
to me, that's not enough. That's not the right vibration to
Right.
be in. You can't do the spiritual bypassing thing and hope that it works for you. But on the other hand, when we clean up our beliefs and then step into gratitude, it's like giving it a double whammy. There's so much more to it than
Mm.
just hoping and pretending. So I
Yeah.
see a lot of people that just want to use just mantras or want to just use, and it's like, no, you got to do the inner work too. You've got to know that it's yours. You've got to know that it's coming to you. You've got to feel it in your gut, in your
Mhm.
core. And then you can stand in that and do that. And I do my gratitude in the shower every morning. And seriously, it just makes me cry. Like I'm in the shower bawling every morning
Mhm.
because I do step into that gratitude in that place of, oh my gosh, we live such an amazing freaking life. And thank you, thank you, thank you so much for everything that we have. There's just such a different vibration on that.
Yeah. And I think that so many people think, well, I'll be grateful when, they kick the can down the
Yeah.
road. Once I've achieved this, once I have it, then I'll be happy.
Mm-mm.
But when you can recognize the impact of gratitude in the moment and sit with it in the moment. So let's just use the example of weight. A lot of people want to lose 5, 10 pounds, whatever. And if they're just using those affirmations like, I'm going to lose it, I'm going to lose it, I'm going to lose it, I'm this many pounds lighter, but they aren't actually seeing what changes they need to make, or even with their bank account. There's a lot of things that are
Mm-hmm.
fixed numbers that we think if we just say enough affirmations that they'll change. Sometimes they
Yeah.
do, but they're more likely to
Sometimes you
change
do.
when you have
Yeah.
that inspired action and also with that gratitude. And I think it switches the brain when you're thinking, I'm just so grateful for the awareness of what it is that I want. And I'm
Yeah.
just going to sit in the space of gratitude of, I wonder how it's going to come to me. I wonder how these opportunities are going to present
Yeah.
themselves. And then
Yeah.
you're more likely to be in alignment when it does show up to say, oh, you know what? Yes, I
Absolutely.
will accept that speaking engagement. Yes, I think that that sounds like a great idea.
Hmm.
Let's collaborate on this project. You're ready for it because you have up leveled your own personal energy and vibration to already be in alignment with it. And you're grateful ahead of time.
Yeah. You know, that's one thing you were talking about weight. It's one thing that I've done this last year is I've dropped quite a bit of weight. And that was one thing that I didn't focus on the losing part. I focused on where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I thanked my body every day for being exactly where it needed to be. And so it's such a different vibration and already feeling that it's already there. That's already where I'm at. Acting as if, feeling as if, doing as if
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm already at in that space. So, you know, that's such a different vibration of, oh, I wish, or
Yeah.
geez, it needs to be this. It's like it doesn't have to be anything. And then this is where that inspired action to me, so that you can believe it, do something that gets you going in that direction, whatever that is for you, so that you can get on board and believing that it is possible for you.
Mm-hmm. I love that because, and I love how you talked about that you were expressing that love and gratitude for your body and being exactly where you're at. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can hate yourself skinny, but it's probably not going to stick and it's probably not going to last, but
No, it's
to love yourself healthy, what a
mhm.
different energy to be able to say, hey, I
Yeah.
am living this lifestyle because I love myself versus I'm living this
Hmm.
lifestyle because I hate myself and I'll love myself when.
Right.
That is such a different energy. And I don't think anybody wants to stay in that space. But sometimes we're not even consciously aware that that's what we're doing. But we are putting off our own
No.
happiness, putting off our own gratitude, putting off our own joy and success because we're not in that place of love and abundance and gratitude.
Yeah. And I believe too, we're human. We're not going to stay there all the time. We're going to have our ups and downs. We're going to move through it. But, you know, you and I, we've kind of talked about this before. We can choose what we want to think and we can choose where we want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
it takes just as much energy to be grumpy as it does to be grateful. So why not work towards feeling better and
Yeah.
honoring where you're at? And, you know, I've had days where I'm like, okay, you want to be mad today? You can be mad. You know, you got 2 hours. Let's work
Yeah.
on this and figure it out. And then let's move on. You know, why are we going to spend all day or weeks? Or some people, I had someone call me yesterday and she's like, I've just been in this depressed state for years. And I'm like, why do we allow ourselves to stay there for years thinking that we're helpless? It's just not needed. And we have more power than we even think. We're just giving our power away to other things and opportunities and all the things around us.
Mm-hmm.
We can pull it back in and realize, oh my gosh, we are in control. We can do what we want and we get to feel the way we want and we
Yeah.
can make it all happen. It's just us deciding that it's going to.
Yep. So true. Yeah. So when I first asked Gina to come on, then I kind of proposed the idea of titling this episode Magical Thinking. And we had this little dialogue about what is magical thinking. So I'm curious, like, let's talk a little bit about magical thinking and how that ties in with manifesting and what it looks like.
Yeah, magical thinking is like fairy tale land. That is awesome.
Yeah. And I think it serves a purpose. I think that the magical thinking of like, hey, I can do this, it's possible, it sparks that excitement. But then
Yeah,
combining that magical thing, and there's difference between the magical thinking where it's living in fantasy, and then there's magical thinking that creates inspired action, right?
yeah,
And they can both get results. Sometimes magical thinking really is all it takes to get what you want,
yeah.
but more often than not, having that inspired
Probably
action.
a little bit more than that. Well, and I live in that magical thinking a lot because of the things that I want and the things that I'm working on and the things that I'm manifesting. I imagine myself already doing it.
Yeah,
So, is there a time and a place for magical thinking? Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Stay in that place. And the thing that it's doing too is raising your vibration as you can feel the energy of being in that space already.
mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a bummer because then when it happens, you're like, oh, I already know what that feels like because I've already been there. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've already been there. But that's a good thing because that means you've been in that vibration for so long that
Yeah,
you already know what it feels like. But we can still go back to the goody, 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 that it happened. Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah,
so yeah, I think there's a place for it. Absolutely. I think this is the thing people think a lot of manifesting is people have got their heads in the clouds. It's
mm-hmm.
like, Well, great. They can think whatever they want because I choose to put myself in those places. I choose to put myself in those situations.
Yeah.
And yeah, why would you not? Why would you not choose to do that? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Seriously, like,
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting what you said about making it familiar to you. It's like, I already know what this feels like. I think there's huge benefit to visualizing yourself in different spaces because I think a lot of the fear that we have around manifesting, it comes from the unknown. We're scared of what we don't know. But the more you're
yeah,
able to familiarize yourself with it through meditation and that visualization and all these other different things, it makes it less foreign. It helps it to feel more safe and more familiar, which also makes it more likely that we can achieve it. So I love that you tied that in a little bit with this whole
yeah.
conversation.
Well, and I'll share with you what I've been doing because you and I we recorded a podcast before, so we've talked about it. But I was in a biking accident back in October,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and I have booked. I'm leaving out of the country in what do I have? 8 days now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
headed out of the country, and I'm only 12 weeks out of surgery. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a little worried at first because it takes a lot to go out of the country and to go do all these things. But I started imagining myself being able to walk because I had a major reconstructive knee surgery. I didn't have a hip replacement or a knee replacement. They had to totally reconstruct my whole knee. And so I started imagining myself being able to walk, being able to move, being able to bend, feeling what it felt like to be able to walk all day and not be in as much pain, feeling what those things feel like. And at first, I was a little terrified because I was like, is this really going to work? I'm doing extensive physical therapy. I'm going to physical therapy. It is not looking promising. I was getting so frustrated at physical therapy. And then I'd have to remind myself again, you know what? No, we know what the outcome is. We know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what that's going to look like for us, and it's going to be fine. And so it was really interesting because I had to not only visualize, but I
Mm-hmm.
had to let go of my outcome just a little bit. I had to put it out there of what I wanted and just let it go
Yeah.
and know that whatever happens here is perfect. I can walk to the airport. I can go get on my plane. I can, do all the things and it's going to be fine, whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
And so just 4 weeks ago, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And today I'm like, it'll be fine. We're doing
Yeah.
it. We're going because that's how it's going to be okay. Whatever it is going to be okay. So I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes we have to visualize it and see it and know it and also understand that, what, put it out there and just let it be and stop
Yeah.
worrying about it because it's going to work out just fine. And then when you know that in your heart, because I do know that in my heart, it's going to be just fine. Everything is going to work out fabulous and we're going to have a great trip.
Yeah.
So there's so many different layers to this is what it comes down to is there's a lot of different layers in all of it, but all
Yeah.
of it is good.
Yeah. Well, and as you were talking about manifesting your health and wellness to go on this trip, it had me thinking about Joe Dispenza's book, You Are the Placebo. I love that book. and
Yes.
and I think that that has a lot to do also with manifesting. And I was talking with
Yeah.
some family members about the placebo effect and they're like, well, whatever. And I'm like, no, but it's like, I had to Google it just to talk to my family about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, the placebo effect is between 15 to 70% that
Right.
is what you will experience. And we don't know if it's going to be the
Mhm.
15% or the 70%, but it kind of works. And I think that's the same thing
It
with
does.
manifesting. It's like, yeah, why not choose to believe it? Why not lean
Yeah.
into it? Why not
What do you
visualize your body healing faster and actually going on
Mhm.
these trips and doing these things? Like, why not? It can't hurt, right? Can't hurt might help.
And what do you have to lose? Seriously, what do you have to lose in all
Yeah.
of that? Not only do you feel better, you show up better. People are
Hmm.
like, what are you doing? You just have a different energy about
Hmm.
there's just a different glow. There's a different vibration. That alone in itself to me is worth it.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, the possibilities of what can happen.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no downside to it at all, except for
Right.
you getting in your own way and telling yourself it's ridiculous and it's stupid and that this is completely absurd and what are we thinking? And everybody's going to think we're crazy. Let them think what they want. They're going to think what they want anyway. They're going to
Yeah.
think you're crazy no matter what you do. So
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And it kind of has me think about what you said earlier in this episode about how it takes just as much energy to be grumpy as it does to be happy. And I think that's mostly true. And sometimes it actually takes significantly more energy to be grumpy, to have to tell people all
I
of the
think you're
reasons
right.
why this isn't going to work and all of the reasons why this is such a bad idea. It requires so much
Mhm,
energy to convince ourselves and to convince others to our truth.
mhm.
But if we can just be like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to it. It requires so much
Right.
less energy. It creates so much more
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I agree. I agree. Yeah.
So tell me, are there any specific practices or exercises that you recommend for developing a positive mindset and enhancing those manifestation abilities?
I spend time every day taking out the trash. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't even stress that enough. Like, the intuitive healer in me says, oh my gosh. And it's not even necessarily focusing on them. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, like just the other day, I was getting ready to do a class and I heard in the back of my head, I don't know why you're doing this because nobody's going to show up anyway. And I was like, oh, I mean, it was one of those, did I just really say that? Like, yes, I did. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, you know what? Is that ultimately true for me? Well, no, that's not true. I've been doing this work a long time. That is absolutely not true for me. Has that ever been true for me? No, that hasn't ever been true for me. And so what parts of me think that this is my truth? What parts of me think that I'm unworthy of having those things in my life? And I
Mm-hmm.
literally journal it out. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, there was this time and this time and this time and this time that those things happened. And
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, all these wounded parts of us that just need a little validation.
Yeah.
And then to me, it's reaffirming on the other end that no, that's not my truth. This is
Mm-hmm.
my truth. The truth
Mm-hmm.
is everything always works out for me. The
Yeah.
truth is I get to do whatever I want and whatever brings me joy and happiness in my business, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
The truth is I'm going to bring inspiration to people and the right people are going to show up at the right time.
Yeah.
And so it's just flipping it all around. So that's a daily practice, I think, for everybody. And it's really stepping into that place of learning and knowing, because once you believe you can have it, there's no stopping you.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's parts of you that just believe that you can't have it, it's going to stop you dead in your tracks every dang time. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yep, so true. Yep, I'm a big believer in that our thoughts create our feelings and our feelings create our actions. And if
yep,
we are having those thoughts and allowing those thoughts to impact us of, well, nobody's going to show up. How are we going to show up? Right. Like
right.
you were taking me back to when I was presenting at the energy healing conference, and I had a time, it was during dinner, and I thought there's not going to be that many people there, and I was really nervous. I'm like, nobody's going to
Mhm.
know me here, they're not going to show up. And I was like, okay, hold up, same thing as you, right? And I'm like, but what if? What
No,
if it's a great presentation? And it turned out to
yeah,
be a standing room only. But I had to recognize and, like you said, take out the trash and be like, hey, whoever is meant to be here will be here. And then guess what? My whole
yep,
energy shifted. I could see people out in the hall, and I used my microphone and said, hey, we're starting a class. If you guys want to come in, they came in. It worked great.
yeah,
But it would have been a completely different experience if I had believed my trash thoughts. I thought, well, no
yep.
one's gonna come, and it's not that good anyway, and they don't know me, and they
No.
have no reason to come. And I was like, no, they've got all the reason to come. Bring it on.
Everybody, yes, everybody has all the reasons to come. I know it literally is. None of us are immune to it. It's not
Yeah.
that we're immune to it. And it's not even as a healer or a coach or we're suddenly like rise above all of this. No, it's not like that. I have to do my work too.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes me a better healer. You do your
Yes.
work. That's what makes you a better coach because we get
Yeah.
it. We totally get it. And
Yeah.
we're out there in the ring doing the work, doing the things so that we can
Mhm.
have the life that we want to.
So true. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation and that you used exactly those words, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, she's a life coach. Nothing should ever bother her, or she should be able to navigate this. And it's like, dude, I have a life. It's like real. We go through some real
Right.
life stuff over here.
Right. I just had a situation just this last week where I was in part of this other membership stuff and I said something that I probably could have said it a million different ways, but they were
Mhm.
all bitching and moaning, complaining. And I was like, oh, for the love of all that is holy, come on, guys. We're supposed to be in here to inspire and lift each other up. And I said something basically on the lines of, we get to choose how we do this. And I choose every day to rise above and to see the good. And this world isn't going down anytime soon. We're not all going to die. But it's like, come on, guys. Anyway, there were several that got offended by my remarks.
Mhm.
And for a minute there, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. And then I was talking to another one of my friends about it. And she's like, are you kidding me? You just triggered them to the parts that they need to work on. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? You were so right. We should speak up. We should say
Mhm.
our truth. I didn't say it out of spite. Was I a little annoyed? Yes, I was. I mean, we'll just be
Mhm.
honest. There was a little bit of annoyance in there, but it was like, no, there's so much more to life than this. And we can choose to go down that path and we
Mhm.
can choose to bond with each other over those paths, or we can go over here and start creating this beautiful life that we can
Mhm.
all have. if we
Mm-hmm.
choose to.
So true. And I think as we practice identifying those trash thoughts, like you talked about, and we can see, okay, well, I need to take that out. It takes practice taking out the trash and
Mhm.
inviting in what you really want to invite in. And we don't actually see the fruit of it until later, right? Like when we're in that room and in that space, like I recently had an exchange with a friend where they made a comment, and I knew consciously that, oh, the me of 5 years ago would have been so super offended by that comment. But I
Uh-huh.
wasn't offended.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, you know what? You're
Yeah.
probably right. And I was able to see the piece of truth in it and redirect it to something that felt more supportive for me. But you're right. When we're triggered by something, it's because there's something in us that needs to be healed. And just
Yeah.
recognizing that, okay, they're going to have their experience and I'm going to have my experience. We're all at different
Yep.
places, but we all have the same end goal. We're all on the
Right.
same journey together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Find people who lift you up too.
Mhm.
I think it's so important to have your group of people or your one person or whatever it is that
Mhm.
you can call and tell them all your magical thoughts and call and tell them all your things. And they're like, oh my gosh, those are awesome. We
Yeah.
all need those kind of people in our life too, as well,
Yeah.
because that just helps you get where you want to go so much faster. We
Yeah.
don't have to do it alone. And there are people out there who will sit with you in your lovely magical thoughts,
Mhm.
and it's okay.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more because we kind of like breezed over it and it's easy to say take out the trash and invite in the good. But can you give us some examples of what does that look like? How do you identify these thoughts as they come in? What is it like for you? What is that experience like for you? Because I'm sure it's been a process even identifying
It
them. So
has
what
been
has that been like for you?
Yeah, it has been a process over the years. At first, I had a really hard time even identifying them. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize it until much later on down the road when I'm in a grumpy mood 3 days later and I'm like, what was that all about? And then it was like, oh, you remember that situation? Remember when you went to the grocery store, that lady said that one thing to you and you went down this tangent of, oh my gosh, she's referring to me and made it all about me and blah, blah, whatever it was. But now it's like I understand it a lot quicker and I can actually feel my energy in my body take a dump. Like literally, I can feel it come in. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, ooh, that's a very interesting thought. What was that all about? And just like the class, why am I doing this? Nobody's going to show up anyway. Ooh, I felt it right there immediately. There was no delay. There was no 3 days later and, go teach the class and it does turn out terrible and you're wondering why. And then you're feeling bad, geez, maybe I should just quit and I should never do this again. And then we got even more thoughts to deal with after the fact. But
Mm-hmm.
there is that energy dump I think we feel in there when we hit, because it is a vibration and you can
Mm-hmm.
feel yourself kind of come down. But I have learned to stop in the moment and ask myself, what was that? What was that you just said? It's kind of like when you miss something, when someone kind of mumbles something to you and you're like, excuse me, what did you just
Yeah.
say? So it's just asking myself, what was that again? And is that my truth? Gosh,
Yeah.
no, that's not my truth.
Yeah.
Because the soul in me knows that that is not true. That's
Mm-hmm.
the old me believed that. The
Mm-hmm.
old me definitely believed that, but this version today doesn't believe that anymore.
Yeah.
And what can I do to swap that around in my head so that I can feel better about that and do something different?
Yeah. Oh, I love so many things that you just said. I love how you talked about that with the old me, because sometimes we just have
Mhm.
those old thoughts that we've practiced them for
Yep.
so many years that they're just going
Oh
to
my
keep coming
gosh.
back. We believe them for so
Yeah.
long. It's like recognizing, separating out, okay, well, this is me and that's old me. And I'm going to choose into new me and move on from that. So I
Yeah.
love that you addressed that. And then the second thing that you said was that you had started to kind of close the gap, right? That it used to be a week later that you're like, what was bothering me? And you had to rewind in your brain and realize, oh, yeah, it was that was in the grocery store. And then that the gap
Mhm.
gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So then
Yeah.
eventually in the moment, you're able to recognize the triggers, but it really takes slowing that brain down, right? We have 60,000
Yes.
thoughts a day. It can be hard to identify the one that is causing that dip. But as
Yeah.
you practice it, it becomes significantly easier to recognize, yeah, when you're out of alignment, when you're allowing those trash thoughts to come in, and shorten that gap is the goal, right? Like we've all been
Yep.
there where it takes us a while to figure it out and we think, I guess this is just who I am now. When you're able to think
Yeah.
through and challenge those thoughts and recognize, okay, that's old self, I'm choosing into new self, it can create some
Yeah.
huge magic.
Huge magic. Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be that time. And it's life work. To me, I never tell anybody to not pay attention to their feelings and not pay attention to your thoughts, because we don't want to shove them down. You don't want to just push them off to the side. It's not going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
It's going to just make things worse. That just builds up. That just causes all sorts of problems. But if we can address them, learn to see them, not judge ourselves for them, because there's no reason to judge yourself.
Right.
You're just human. You're just having a human experience. You're going to have feelings. You're going to have thoughts.
Yeah.
You've got these beliefs that are there for whatever reason. It doesn't even really matter. But what are you going to do with them? That's the question. Like,
and using it as information, right? That all that we're doing by looking at these thoughts, it's not to guilt and shame you. It's to identify where you were at, so we can come up with a clear path to get you to where it is that you want to go. It's just information. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. I'm sure it's been similar for you, Gina, but I've had so many clients come in and just say, well, I've never told anybody this before, but this is something I'm thinking, or this is something I'm still holding on to. And it's like, okay. And they're like, okay, really? That's okay. It's like, yeah,
I know. They're like, really?
Just human.
Right. I call myself the keeper of the secrets, because, you know, I don't ever tell anybody what happens in my office stays in my office, unless they give me permission to. Or sometimes I say this one client like had, but I would never put two and two together unless but it's really interesting because they'll think it's such a terrible thing. And I'm like, okay, so you're human. Great. Like, because there's no reason to judge even anything that we do or anything that we think, or there's no reason to judge it. Judging it just keeps you farther away from where you want to be. Like, it's just putting that separation in, and we don't want that separation. We don't want the separation of the self. We want to bring ourselves together. And that means acceptance and love and compassion and all the things that we would give everybody else. For some reason, we refuse to give ourselves because we're, you know, somehow so unworthy of those things. Which just simply isn't the truth. It's just not the truth. And
living in that place of darkness and shame, that's going to, I mean, bringing it back to manifestation, you can't manifest from that space. You can't.
No.
It's not going to do anything. You have to bring it out into the light, let go of the shame, and use that as information that, okay, yes, that happened. I can radically accept that, and I can still get to where it is that I want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing that you've done that keeps you from going where you want to go. There's absolutely nothing.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Gina. And can you tell people where they can find you?
You can find me at ginastrole.com. I'm also on all of the social media platforms as Gina Strole Intuitive Healer. So you can find me there, and you can go to my website. I have lots of cool stuff there, lots of freebies on my website. So lots of free resources if you're interested more in intuitive healing. And all my stuff is there. So
awesome. And then I told them that you also have a podcast. So what's the name of your podcast?
Oh, I do have a podcast. Yes, we do have that. So the Intuitive Healing Connection, it's also on my website, and it's also on all of the major platforms as well. So you can find me just about anywhere. So just Google the Intuitive Healing Connection and it will come up for you. So
awesome. And Gina's just a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for being here. It's been so nice just having a conversation.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, this was awesome. So thank you for inviting me today.
Sure. Have a great one, guys. See ya.
Okay. Bye-bye.